Okay, this is Craig Hain, and this is part two of my Vita. In part one, I discussed my life up from the time I was born in 1938 through 1969. And essentially, I've gotten a PhD in mathematics. I've been teaching math in a variety of ways since I was 15. I was now 30 years old, 31 years old. I started teaching at Rose-Hulman in 1969, as I said. But at the same time, my dad had died, and my brother and I decided to go into business as partners on the side. I was a silent partner, and we bought some automotive parts stores, and that began my business adventures and career. And I dabbled in business then for 4 years and taught at the same time at Rose, and finally decided to go into business full-time. It was time to abandon mathematics that I'd enjoyed all those years. I considered it now time for something else. And so that's what happened. Now, I won't get into the details on that. The decade of the 70s was very interesting. We had automotive parts stores. We built a drag strip in Terre Haute called Action Dragway. And then I started a racing gasoline company with a former Rose-Hulman colleague, Dean Hill. We call it H&H Racing Gasoline. And we sold that all over the country to mostly drag racers. And then in the mid-70s, I learned about something called microprocessors. And to make a long story short, I designed a microcomputer system to test racing engines on dynamometers, on water brake dynamometers, and I call it the Hain Dynabrain, and it worked really well. I sold a lot of them to NASCAR teams in particular. But the technology changed on me, and I wasn't able to continue producing it, and so in 1978 and 79, I actually missed teaching, and so I went back and I taught for a year at Indiana State University again, only this time in the electronics technology department, and I taught digital electronics and operational amplifiers and other things. Because what I'd learned all these years is that mathematics is really kind of the basis of all technology. If you understand mathematics, then there's not very much in the way of difficulty in any kind of a technology or science subject. Math is usually the stumbling block. Well, I enjoyed teaching that year, but I decided I didn't really want to go back into the university life, and I wanted to continue teaching, and I wanted to teach the things that I felt were important to my students. One of the problems I've always had teaching in an institution is that you have to follow the syllabus that somebody else makes up, and very often it's not what's best for the students. I experienced that really everywhere I taught, whether it was IU or Indiana State or even Rose-Hulman. We were always teaching things that someone else decided was important, but not necessarily in the best interest of the students. So in 1980, I formed a training company called Hain Training, and I started teaching technical subjects for the industry. And there I was able to decide just what was best for the students and teach it. That's what the companies wanted me to do. And so that company developed and grew and is still, in fact, going on today. If you go to haintraining.com, you can see many of the workshops that that company has developed and teaches. Many of those I developed, and then I hired instructors, and they also developed. And one of the things that we learned is that practical mathematics is the foundation of virtually any technical subject. And we also learned that most adults had problems with math and didn't like math, and that really was an impediment to them. And yet, when it was taught properly, they could learn math. And so we had great experiences with teaching the technical subjects because we teach the math they needed. And the common comment we'd get from adults was, gee, why didn't somebody teach me this 20 years ago? I didn't know math could be so easy and so much fun. And so that went on and on for really decades. And then really, frankly, in the near the end of the 20th century, the late 1990s and the early 2000s, I semi-retired. We'd done quite well in the training company, and I did a lot of traveling and a lot of adventures, and I won't get into that now. It's not really relevant to the mathematics, but I've been up the Amazon River in Peru and all over the place, been all over the world really. And one of the things that always had haunted me ever since Western Reserve High School is I really love teaching high school math. That was the most favorite thing I'd ever done. It was an enjoyable teaching experience. And what I always wished I could do was teach math to lots and lots and lots of young people, but teach it in the way that I knew would be best for them to learn it, so they could have a similar experience to the one I had had with Miss O'Hare and with some of my other mentors. So in the about 2007, about 5 years ago, I formed a company called Triad Math, and I decided to begin to develop materials, high school type level materials on math, and offering it to people. And it's been quite an experience doing that. I've done that now for 5 years, and we've trained quite a number of people. It's been an evolutionary process, and I go by the name of Dr. Dell to my students. My name is Delbert Craig Hain. My dad was Delbert, and so I go by Dr. Dell. That's kind of a double entendre. Dell is also a symbol for mathematics. And so I call myself Dr. Dell. Let my students call me that. I don't really like to be called Dr. Hain. My colleagues and all the people I deal with just call me Craig. I much prefer that. And I ended up a couple of years ago, I wrote a book on teaching math, all about high school math and what I consider to be the problems with the high school math programs we have in this country today. This is about a 120-page book, and you can download it for free off of the Triad Math Inc. website. And as you will see from the website you're on now, I've written several other, I've done several other videos on the topics of what's involved in teaching math. I believe in the SPIKE system, the 5 essential ingredients. I believe in the Triad of Math education. I believe that we should not be spending, I think the modern math textbooks that are being foisted on our high schools are, from an educational viewpoint, are just really horrible. I think the content is bad for most students. And quite frankly, I believe that we all today are victims of what I call the standard math curriculum. And I don't just mean the students, I mean the teachers are victims too. It's really just an insidious problem that has evolved over the years. It's no one person's fault. Really, it's been evolving for over 100 years now. And but I think it's time that we need to do something about it and can do something about it. And so that is what I am attempting to do with Triad Math Inc. I believe today that through Triad Math that we can help any high school students that want help, whether they're being homeschooled taught or whether they're being taught in schools. I believe we can help the schools themselves, greatly improve their math programs, and greatly reduce their cost. I believe that both the quality of the math education can go up dramatically and the productivity can go up also, meaning that the cost will come down. And that is what really we're dedicated to doing today with Triad Math. You will know from other videos that we already are offering what we call the Practical Math Foundation course. And we teach a student all of the algebra, geometry, and trigonometry that they're going to need in non-professional technical careers in about 50 hours of their time. But of course, we start by teaching them how to use a power tool of math, which is an electronic calculator. The one that we use in our training and emphasize is the TI-30XA. This is a remarkable little thing. It's only costs about $10, much more powerful than the original scientific calculator that was introduced in 1972. Ironically, when I was teaching at Rose-Hulman, the first electronic scientific calculator came out, the HP-35. It cost $395 in 1972, which is about $2,000 in today's money. And but all the students bought them because it was so much better than slide rules and lookup tables and all that. In fact, many of the math engineering professors had to redo their testing because all of a sudden what would take an hour using slide rules and lookup tables can now be done in 10 minutes with a calculator. And I believe that this is the way you should do all of your arithmetic today with a tool like this. Of course, there are other much more powerful tools, and I don't mean calculators. I think this is as good a calculator as you're going to need, but things like spreadsheets and Mathematica for more advanced mathematics, which we use in the upper tiers. But this is what we use in the practical math course. And this is like I said, takes most students about 50 hours to go through all of these subjects. It's self-paced because we use videos that are interactive. We use lots of exercises and quizzes, and you learn all about that elsewhere. So this is what I've done with my life. Now this video is being made in 2013, and we are just really beginning to launch the Triad Math program. And so I invite you to watch a lot of our other videos. Go to the Triad Math Inc. website, learn about this practical math foundation course. If you're interested in high school math in general, you could read this book. I would highly encourage you to read my teaching math book, because I talk about math at all levels. In fact, in chapters 10 and 11 in this book, I talk about what we should be doing for our best math students, the ones that want to become future mathematicians. They're being terrifically shortchanged today based on what we could be doing, and we put them at a big disadvantage to their international competitors. But this really is a problem we have with all of our students today, and so that's what this is all about. That's my Vita. I'm 75 years old, as you know, and one of my heroes is Dr. W. Edwards Deming, because I've done quite a bit with Six Sigma and SPC, Statistical Process Control. And he didn't become really famous in this country until he was 80 years old, and then he continued teaching for another 13 years. And so I got a 5-year head start on him, really a 10-year head start, since I started this about 5 years ago. And so I'm looking forward to helping a lot of students learn mathematics. And to the extent that you're interested in it, I encourage you to get involved with us and let us work with you or your students. So this is Craig Hain, aka Dr. Dell, and my students. Thank you so much for watching these videos. I hope you've enjoyed them, and I hope that we can help you in the future. And certainly I wish you the very, very best in learning math or teaching math, whichever the case may be. And I will see you on another video. Bye-bye.